very hard to predict the draft, but we're incredibly satisfied with what we were able to accomplish this offseason. We think we've got a lot of really good pieces walking in the building today and tomorrow. It's great to see the guys that have come in that I've seen really look good. They're healthy. They're ready to go. They're excited about the season, and we're very excited about the season and getting started. It's been a long time.
Are you confident that this roster can make a substantial improvement from last season?
Yeah, I mean, it's not hard to make an improvement from last season from a wins and loss standpoint. I did think that the team came together towards the end of the season, and we were seeing some things that we had envisioned becoming. And so I think we can build off of the end of the season, and I think there's a lot of players in this building that expect a huge improvement, and I think everybody in the front office expects that as well.
Duke, the front office spending strategy this offseason is vastly different from anything historically this front office has ever done. Why was that the case this offseason?
Yeah, Ben, it just was a reflection of where our roster was. Every year we determine how to attack the needs and holes that we have. Sometimes it's maintaining players who are up that are on your team that are producing. Other years, it's perhaps going out and finding free agents. And so we had a blended approach. Obviously, the draft's always important to us, and it's certainly important when you get the first pick. But when you're sitting where we were sitting, a team normally needs some infusion of free agents to fill some of the needs, and we were able to get that done. And I think our scouting staff as well as our coaches did a great job, helping that get accomplished.
Look, you played the quarterback position yourself with the unusual circumstances that Joe is facing, as well as everybody in the National Football League. But as a rookie quarterback, how difficult the situation, and is it maybe not as big a deal because of the type of guy and player that Joe is, or how do you see that?
I don't know. It's hard for me to predict. Well, time will tell on that. Everything that we know about him to this point is he's up for any challenge we give him, and we're excited to see how he takes hold of our team and leads it. But it's hard for me to predict. There are examples of guys coming in and playing well right away, and there's examples of guys that needed time to get going. And Joe's an independent case study. He's his own guy, and we've certainly been excited and impressed with what we know so far.
Duke, with the uncertainty of the salary cap obviously up in the air for next year, what might that do for contract extensions, and where do things maybe stand with Joe Mixon?
Yeah, it's a good question. Joe's an important part of our team, a piece that we'd like to get extended and have around here a long time. Typically, our extensions have gotten done during camp at some point. There are challenges, as you alluded to, with some uncertainty with the cap this year, next year, and even the year after, and how to structure something that's agreeable to both sides. So there are challenges that we'll be working through, and hopefully we're able to come to an agreement. Time will tell on that, but it's something that we're certainly cognizant of and want to address.
Does the value of future markets, specifically what's going to be available next offseason, maybe predicate what y'all are going to be able to negotiate with Joe right now?
Well, you always take the bird in the hand, and Joe's been a great player for us, and we want him around here. We know what he is. He came in and earned it. I think he came in somewhat under some tough circumstances, and he showed everybody that he was the player and the person that we believed he is and would become. And he's a guy that we're proud of, and regardless of what's in the draft next year or what's in free agency, we know that Joe's a piece that we want, and so we'll work to see if that can come together.
Hey, Duke, do you think that because of the pandemic, your job has changed a lot, or has it just been some minor adjustments along the way as what you consider normal?
Well, it's hard to call them minor. A lot of our processes have changed. The root of what we do hasn't changed, Box, which is, we evaluate film, and a lot of times, scouts are by themselves anyway. So maybe the scouting community had less of a change than maybe the coaching staff and player community. we're used to working by ourselves. But, some of the ways that we have met have been drastically different. I've been impressed with how everyone has adapted to that. It's everybody's in the same boat, and so we're doing our best to make the most out of the situation and the opportunities that we have with these players and with our staff, and it's still to be determined how we operate going forward, particularly in this college scouting season as we get kicked off. A lot of times we would have already been out on the road looking at guys for next year's draft, and we're here in the office, and we're trying to get done what we can get done remotely.
Duke, there were reports last week that Josh Tupou was going to opt out, but there hasn't been an official transaction on that yet. Is there an update? Is there a change of mind, or do you expect him to still?
No, we'll have some transactions later today. He'll be a part of that. He is elected to opt out, which we support his right and ability to do that, and wish him well, and look forward to seeing him next year.
I know you said transactions. Obviously, you've got Ryan Glasgow's no longer on the roster, Josh now, so you're a little maybe thin at that position.
It's a position that we'll look at as we go. Free agency, our free agents at this point are challenging because there's a whole protocol you got to go through to bring them in. There's no workouts, so we're working through some of how we'll manage our roster and how we'll change our roster out. We anticipate going to 80 players. Tomorrow will be our first full team day where we'll have everybody in the building. That'll be the day that we can't have more than 80. Our roster will then be set at 80, and we'll go forward from there at 80.
When you watch other sports that have unfolded a little bit and protocols as such, I know you're not as aware of their protocols as what you guys are putting together, but what do you see? What do you think? What do you feel? I mean, is it pretty much gone along as you guys thought, or have there been any surprises, or what's your feeling there?
Well, you're right. I'm not an expert on what some of the other leagues are doing. I do know what our league is doing, and it's incredibly thorough. And our testing protocol can't be any more thorough. It's every day at this point. And so the people that are coming in the building and the people that are interacting with players and the players themselves have all tested negative for COVID, and that's a comforting fact when you walk around the building and everybody's getting tested on a daily basis. And I've been really impressed with the health of our players and staff, and we haven't to this point, knock on wood, been hit hard with it. And if everybody does their part and holds each other accountable and holds themselves accountable, hopefully we'll be able to stay safe together.
Dude, because it's still possible to get a real read on late round picks and undrafted guys. I mean, and how do you go about maybe doing things differently to make sure that you get that this year?
Yeah, I think it'll be a little bit unfair for those guys because the preseason games are what really drives the evaluation on those guys. We don't have enough full contact practice historically to do a full evaluation. You can see how they run, how they catch, how they block, but you can't see really tackling, and you can't see anticipation. You can't see aggressiveness like you'd like to see. And so not having the preseason games will hurt those guys, not only with their own team in their evaluation, but evaluations around the league when other teams are looking for free agents. So it'll be important. This year will be very important to have a 16-man practice squad that we feel good about. That'll be our primary source of players as the season goes on, just because of the restrictions of bringing free agents in, working them out, getting them cleared from a testing protocol standpoint. So it'll be a challenge, but that practice squad will be very valuable to us, and a lot of those young guys will be keep competing for a spot there.
Probably, I imagine, a lot easier, you feel like, to get guys to the practice squad when there's no preseason games for other teams to see as much, or you hope.
Yeah, you never know. We're situated this year where we have the first claiming priority, and maybe it's not the best year to be there because we will have less to evaluate. But some of the young guys will go back to our college evaluations, and we'll just roll off of those, which isn't a bad way to go. It's not too far removed from where they are now. But it'll be a challenge identifying, bringing other guys in for sure.
Duke, how close did y'all get to getting a long-term deal done with A.J. Green this offseason?
Giving a blow-by-blow, we didn't get it done. But he's a guy that we're very happy that is here. He's in great spirits. I think he's going to have a big year, and it'll pay off for him that way. But giving a blow by blow of how close it didn't get done, obviously, and we'll go forward, and we're all at peace with that.
What would you like to see from him this season? Go ahead, Dan.
Thanks, Ben. Duke, previously it sounded like you were content to go to camp with 3 quarterbacks, and now you've obviously brought in a 4th. Is that specifically connected to the possible idea of quarantining one?
I think so. That'll be determined as we go, and Zach will make that determination. I know one thing that that's the hardest position to get up and going to play on a short notice, and we want to have enough guys to get us through the season that know what we do and how to operate our offense. And that position is so vital that we felt like it was necessary to have another guy in the fold, learning our system, being able to operate it, being able to call our plays, and being able to give us a chance if it comes down to that. Obviously, most of our time will be spent getting Joe ready, and I think everybody knows that. But the other guys will learn how to operate our system, and that'll be beneficial to us going forward.
Do you think it's a situation where you would have to keep 4 guys, given the uncertainty of everything?
I don't know that there's any have-tos, but it'll give us the opportunity to keep 4 if we feel that's the best when we come down to cutting the team at the end of the process. We're a long way from there, but at least it gives us the opportunity to make that choice if we choose at that time.
Is there any kind of a rule that you can keep a quarterback on the practice squad and he can't get plucked?
Right now, as I understand it, there are going to be 4 players on a weekly basis on a Tuesday that you can protect from your practice squad for a given week. It could be the same guy, but after the game on Monday and even part of the day Tuesday, as I understand it, those guys can go elsewhere if they get offered. But then after the Tuesday, I believe you can protect 4 guys. And if one of those 4 happens to be a quarterback, then I guess your question is correct.
Duke, the league has said 14 padded practices at training camp. Is there any kind of a gauge or a monitor in terms of how much contact there can be in those 14 padded practices? Or is that just up to individual team by individual team?
I believe it's up to the team. It'll be up to Zach and how he wants to structure it and his feel for how our team is going and what they need. They'll probably, and Zach will be better to answer these type of questions, but I would anticipate maybe a little more contact in a few practices than maybe we've seen in the past. I think you have to tackle in order to tackle come Sunday. And so at some point we're going to have to do that, and we're going to have to get our guys ready to do that. And how that happens will be Zach's call with his coaching staff and how they feel our team is shaping up.
Going back to Joe a little bit.
Go ahead.
Going back to Joe a little bit, there seems to be a little bit of a devaluing of that position, yet guys still 1 or 2 break the bank every year.
Which Joe are you talking about?
Joe Mixon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Because if you're talking about Burrow, I don't know that applies, but go ahead, Jay.
I was just wondering, has your perception or the way you evaluate the running back position, has that evolved over the years, or is it because you guys have extended?
I think no matter what the position, if the guy's valuable to you and helps you win and is an ascending player with a lot of career ahead of him, I think you look to extend him and look to keep him around. And so it's less about the positional evaluation and more about the importance of the player and the person. So, he's a guy that we'd like to have around, and we're certainly cognizant of the markets and how to take a slice out of your cap and how much you should for each position. But he's an important guy that we'd like to have here.
With the protocols and everything that's going on now, I know you've got probably, things you look to see how it would unfold every training camp. with the unusualness of this training camp, does it change anything that you're looking to see?
In terms of player evaluation?
In terms of player evaluation, preparation for the season, all that type of stuff?
Yeah, I think we're going to do the best we can with the rules that are in place. It's not something that any of us has done before, so we're going to be learning as we go here. At the end of the day, the biggest thing is to have good communication with our players and have them learning and executing the concepts that we feel will be the concepts that'll cause us to win. And so however we do that, the evaluation component will be a challenge. It'll be tougher. We won't have as much to draw conclusions on, but we'll draw conclusions, and we'll go forward confident that we drew the right conclusions at the end.
William Jackson is another guy who wants an extension. Has there been any talks with him as well?
William's a guy that we think is going to have a big year for us this year, and we hope he does. He's a guy that's fought through injuries. He did last year. He's a guy that has a bright future, and we'll see. Right now, I can't predict whether there'll be an extension on his horizon or not, but we'll see as we go here.
Duke, how involved in the breaking down of how you guys would use the facility to keep everybody spread out in quarantine were you? Or did you have any concerns when you dropped in your opinion on how things could be to help avoid decimation at a position or anything like that? Your primary concerns there?
Well, we don't want to be decimated at a position. I think Zach and our ops staff and Jeff Brickner and Mark Heron, they've done the most work in that area, trying to get guys separated that gives us the best chance not to have one position decimated. So those were things that were done. Thankfully, I wasn't the point person on any of that. But we have a great plan in place. It's challenging, but we're excited to attack it. And, our players seem excited to attack it. So, we're not looking at the downside. We're looking at the upside. And, so far, so good. Really impressed with how our players kept themselves physically ready to go, at this point.
Just stepping back to free agency and in those 2 weeks where you really rebuilt this defense, what did you have to adapt during the process, or were guys like Reeder and Waynes guys you had targeted? And Bell kind of shows up maybe 4 or 5 days later. Was there some adjustment going on there, Duke, and what did you have in mind?
Free agency is always an adjustment because you just can't predict. You don't know at the time you're doing the evaluations who might or might not get tagged, who might or might not sign extensions with their team, who might or might not have any interest in you at all. And so there's always adjustments. We were able to land some of our targets, and that was big for us. And it was big because the targets that we identified, guys like Reeder and Waynes, they fit exactly what we wanted to do defensively. And so you always have to stay open for other opportunities as it goes on. And we had daily discussions as to, should we take advantage of this opportunity, and so-and-so is interested, and here's the price. And if we did that, we have to pull out of these other negotiations. And so all free agency is going to be a little bit of a give and take and an adjustment. And we felt good about how it ended up. When the music stopped, we felt good about what we were able to do.
And then when
Reeder commanded a pretty high number for a guy who historically has not really got a ton of sacks, and that's something that you usually see when defensive linemen get paid a lot. What about his game specifically did you feel like was worth the value at the price tag that y'all paid to get him in free agency?
Yeah, consistent. He's consistent in about every area. And he can play a lot of snaps. He can play in different alignments. He is high energy. We feel like he'll bring others along with him. And we feel like he really fits our system in what we wanted to do. So specifically to the Cincinnati Bengals, he had a high value because of that. And we were very excited to get him. Didn't come in with a lot of fanfare, but he earned it the right way, and he became really a great player and a highly sought after player, which is a lot of times what drives the price.
Hey guys, we are approaching the 20-minute mark. I'd like to let Duke go here pretty soon, so let's keep it to just a couple more, please. Thank you.
Duke, with the way the team addressed the linebackers group this offseason, how do you envision that room and competition playing out with mixing some of the newly acquired players with guys returning? And where would you say your confidence level is right now with that group?
Well, I love the potential of the group, Marissa. It's got a lot of youth to it, but what we've seen about those guys since we've had them here in the building is that they're highly competitive, and they're very intelligent. They're learning quickly, and that's a good sign. And then when we mix some of our veterans in with them starting tomorrow, it'll be fun to see the competition start and how they bring each other along. But it was a definite need going in. Everybody knew that. There was a lot of different ways we could have addressed it. We made some efforts in different areas, and the way that we came out, I think, really worked out well. I think if you'd have told me that when free agency kicked off that we could have the group that we have right now, I would have taken it and not turned back. And so really looking forward to see how they come along. With linebackers, if there's no tackling, it's really hard to start separating them out. So we're going to have to put them into positions where they have to show what they do, which is tackle.
Josh Bynes is the veteran in that linebacker group. What made him so attractive in free agency?
Coming from a great defense, we really like his leadership, his instincts. I think he's a guy that's going to bring the young guys along, which is good. And again, a guy that's earned it the right way, and a high energy player. And when we had the opportunity in free agency, when that came up, we jumped on it. We thought there's a good piece for us going forward, and so I'm excited to see him in Bengal stripes.
What would you like to see from Zach Taylor in year two?
Pardon me?
What would you like to see from Zach Taylor in year two that you maybe didn't see in year one, or that you want to see more of that he showed in his first year?
Well, I think Zach and I are aligned. We want to see more wins, and it's as simple as that. That's what we're here to do. He and I are both charged with putting a team on the field that'll win, and we're both wanting to see that. We're both wanting to see the hard work pay off, and I feel that coming. I really like the direction our coaching staff has taken. How they've adapted to kind of the new age meetings that we're going through. What we were able to accomplish in the off season is really impressive. And so the organization of how our staff has been operating has been outstanding. It has not been easy first 2 years for Zach. It's certainly not standard, but the way that he's been able to adapt and evolve what we do so quickly, it's been very impressive. And but ultimately, we're both looking for more wins.
Duke, with what we've seen in baseball, where a couple guys breaking protocol can have a pretty devastating ripple effect, do you guys as an organization have to have more measures in place to kind of police your players, or you say they're professionals and adults and you just have to trust them?
Hopefully we got guys that don't need policing. Hopefully they'll police each other. They'll understand the gravity of the situation and that it affects more than just them. It affects others in the building and their whole team. And I believe we've got the right mix of players that can get that accomplished. They certainly did when they came in, because we had very few problems, getting them in the door healthy. And so that speaks well to how they took care of themselves this off season. And I fully expect that they'll do that going forward, because we got a lot of good leaders in the building.
Duke, we can't thank you enough for your time, and thanks for joining us, everybody.
You bet. Thank you.
Thanks, Duke.